Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Julie Gilbert coming at you from Oregon Weight and Wellness, and I'm here with Rachel Matthews. Hi, Rachel.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, did you have a great Thanksgiving?
Great Thanksgiving. Yes, we traveled. So we were on the road and met up with some friends and family and had a really good one.
Great.
How about you?
Yeah, same. And we did our pickleball tournament.
Yes, we did too. Okay, how did it go for you guys?
So fun.
Yeah.
So fun, and I loved it because everybody got involved. And we had enough paddles, and it was just great. I only twisted my ankle one time.
Okay.
But I have my son taped it up, so I was good. That was good.
I'm convinced that pickleball is I mean, everyone loves it. You think you might not like it. Don't say never, because try it. People, I think, are so surprised by how much they like it.
I know. Yeah. So my brother-in-law was giving me a little smack, talking a little smack. And he's like, pickleball, isn't that for people who can't play tennis? I was like, right here, right now, you bring your A game. We'll see.
Did you spank him?
Well, next time. He watched and he said, all right, that looks fun. We'll do it again. Yeah. So we're scheduling another time, but it was good. It was super fun. Yeah. And well, I wanted to ask you, Rachel, did you get in your cruciferous vegetables for Thanksgiving?
What a wonderful segue. I'm so glad you asked. How odd that you would ask. Yes. Okay. So here's the deal. Well, actually, no, I didn't get my cruciferous vegetables in because we were planning on doing Brussels sprouts, and that's what I'm bringing for our party this weekend.
Yes. Yeah.
But they, our oven was having troubles and things were not cooking fast enough. So we had to tank like 3 different dishes we were going to make and just not do them. So I didn't. But if you guys remember, if you were here with us a couple weeks ago on our episode here, we talked about cruciferous vegetables, and we were both kind of like, what? Yeah, we were kind of bouncing around like what actually does qualify. It's easy to know that like broccoli qualifies, and we know that cabbage qualifies, and these are called cruciferous vegetables, but also they're in the family of the oh shoot, you'll hear another name for them, and I wish I could remember now because I wanted to help you in case you hear this other name. It's the same thing, cruciferous. But here's the actual list of all of the vegetables that fall along in the cruciferous vegetables: arugula, bok choy, broccoli, Brussels, cabbage, cauliflower, collard greens, horseradish, now not the topping, the actual vegetable, kale, radish, rutabaga, turnips, watercress, wasabi. I don't even know what that, I know what it is on my sushi, but mustard greens, kohlrabi or kohlrabi, I'm not sure how to say it. And that's it.
Yeah, that's a big old long list.
That's a big old long list. So when you hear recommendations of getting your greens, you're also like, if you're eating kale or mustard greens or arugula or collards, you're getting your greens and some cruciferous vegetable in there. So that's
awesome.
Spinach is not considered spinach. That would be not in the cruciferous vegetable category. But anyway, some of these things I did not expect to be in the cruciferous vegetable,
Right.
So there you go. Now you guys all know what a cruciferous vegetable is and what falls in the category.
Yeah. Thank you for that. All right. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's get to our chapter in our book today. I think we're on chapter 29.
Chapter 29. He starts off with fight risk with food. So yeah, this was a little bit of a tricky section of this chapter. What was your takeaway?
Well, I thought he brought out a good point that, we have to be aware of our family history and some of the predispositions that we might have for certain diseases, heart disease, stroke, cancer, diabetes being probably the biggest ones. So we might have some genetic predispositions for these. And then and we want to be aware of that, and then and to come against that with setting up our environment. So I've heard it. This is not the greatest analogy that where genes low environment pulls the trigger. You've probably heard that before.
Yeah.
There's probably a better way of saying that, but anyway, just being aware of what our predispositions are, and then coming against that with the best information, or digging into the information out there, the science out there, so that we can set up our environment so that we don't turn on those genes.
Yeah.
Right. And I think his point was then to be careful where you get your information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. To research it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And, so find out what your predispositions are. Do you have a family history or genetic predisposition? And then find out what that biggest risk is. And then do your own research and learn about it. And check the resources, check multiple resources, and look at those peer-reviewed studies. The National Health Institutes has a PubMed. These are places where you can look at the actual papers being written on this, rather than following social media or what someone might just post randomly. Don't trust the information if you don't know exactly where it's coming from and what expertise they have to share that.
Right. Exactly. Because it does take training and understanding of how methodology and what a good paper, a good study is. I mean, so so maybe you don't have that training, but maybe you have somebody who has that training and whom you might trust to go through the data with some objectivity and not a lot of bias. So so anyway, this was a kind of this was a tough one, but I am going to say that just in the last 5 years, I don't know what happened, Rachel, but in the last 5 years, my eyes have been opened to the fact that not all data gets published, especially if it's the data that didn't exactly prove the hypothesis,
right?
And then not all studies are well done.
Yeah.
So you gotta be careful.
And sometimes we get some headlines and some paper. A paper was done, and maybe it's really good research, but that's the first time we've heard this. But it gets splashed all over the news and media as just now it's gospel truth, and we need more research. I love when I'm listening to a podcast and the person presenting the research says, "But we need more research to confirm." And that's how I feel like, okay, I can trust that you're not just saying this period. You're saying, well, we found this one time, but we need to now look at the other factors involving this. Maybe it was true here, but not necessarily here. And I want to encourage people listening to keep an open mind and try not to get frustrated by the changing times of nutrition and health science, because it is changing. New papers are being published every day, multi-million-dollar research projects, and it changes what we thought we knew yesterday.
Right.
And we're just everybody's trying to do their best. So, you got to be kind of open-minded and realize that what was the advice that your mother gave you probably doesn't 100% apply anymore. There's some new things, or maybe she was right all along.
Right.
And what you've been
vegetables, is that what you're trying to say? My mom said, yeah. All right.
Some of the simple ones.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Good.
All right. What's his next point, Rachel?
Next point, the second 2 points in this chapter, he talks about sleep. And first he says 8 is enough. And so when talking about how many hours of sleep people need, it varies. We do know that it varies from person to person, but that the research has done the studies, and it's about 95% of the population. So only 5% of the population can get by with less than 8 to 9 hours of sleep. And really 95% of us need somewhere between 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night.
Yeah.
And they did this in research, and they studied people who might even say like, oh, I feel rested, I'm fine on 3 or 4 hours, or 5 or 6 hours. But when they did the study, those folks actually reported being rested when they had gotten more sleep than they thought they had gotten.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I think this is really an important point. And one
Mhm.
of the things that I appreciate that he brings out is the connection with sleep and weight.
Mhm.
And he says it's clearly a two-way street.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped to the second, the last
Oh,
one.
oh, okay. Oh,
We can talk about both parts.
oh,
You're right.
yeah, yeah.
One is
Yeah, because
about
it's no sleep.
hours of sleep, and one is about weight gain
Right,
connected to sleep.
right, connected
Okay,
to sleep. Sorry.
keep
Yeah,
going.
but he was, yeah, how it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
And yeah, not sleeping well is connected to weight gain, but weight gain is connected to not sleeping well. And it can feel like, I think you said earlier, a catch 22, or, a double bind, or
Yeah.
um, and so it can be frustrating.
Mhm.
So um the one thing that we I think we talked about is that we got to start somewhere.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta
Yeah.
start somewhere.
Find an area. He suggests starting with, I think, with your next meal, because the
Mm,
food that we eat can impact our sleep. And again,
mhm,
if you may not be getting as good of sleep as you could be.
mhm,
Your sleep might be more disrupted or less restful than it could be if you started to, look through some of these things and some of these areas. And so he says, start with your next meal, because we know that food impacts our sleep
mhm.
quality, sleep quantity.
Right.
When we eat our meals and the timing of the day and how late we eat also impacts our sleep.
Mhm.
He says, start with the next meal and just start a day of eating all the right foods, and keep doing that until you start to see an improvement in your sleep. And we've got to start somewhere. Like you said, it can be really frustrating, like, um but you can't necessarily control your sleep quality, but you can control what you eat. That you
Mm,
have total control over.
mhm.
Eventually the changes you make will impact your sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I will say, as far as control, I think we can control, one of the things that really impacts sleep is
Mhm.
sleep. Well, the consistency of which we go
Yes.
to bed at the
Yeah.
same time every night, and get up the same time every morning. Because recently I was talking to someone, and they have good consistency through the week, and then they tend to jet lag themselves on the
Yes.
weekend because they stay up later, which means they can sleep in later. But
Mm.
then Monday morning rolls around, and they're exhausted
Yeah.
because, well, and it's not just one person. I mean, we do this in general, Friday,
Yeah.
the weekend. And if we vary the time we go to bed more than an hour, I'd say,
Mhm.
it could seriously kind of jet lag us, and we're tired going into that next day. And then when we're tired, maybe we're not making the time to prepare the food that we know serves us well, and then we're not in the mindset to make the best choices.
Yeah.
So
And then you can just see how it falls apart.
yeah,
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you didn't eat well and you didn't make the best choices and you're already tired, and so that night's sleep is not great. And then it just, yeah,
mhm,
it snowballs one way or the other, and you want to
mhm,
figure out what thing you can control,
mhm.
where can you start to make those changes.
Yeah.
Um and to go back to the topic, to the thing he talks about with time of sleep, you
Mhm,
mentioned like sleeping in on the weekends. And first of all, the research is pretty clear that we can't really catch up on sleep.
mhm.
Because we our bodies do certain things during the night that
Right.
if you missed it, you missed it. I mean, you might sleep a little bit more on the weekend and feel like, okay, I'm rested finally, or you might take a nap and feel rested, but you didn't really make up for, once sleep
Mm,
is lost. The impact has happened.
right. Yeah, yeah.
And so sleeping in on the weekends, I think I hear a lot of people talk about sleeping 9 or 10 hours and they're just so tired and they're not getting enough sleep. And really, they're probably getting too much sleep.
Mhm.
There's only a very small percentage of the population. I think in that research I said, only 2.5% of the people researched needed more than 9 hours. And more than 9 hours, he says, can actually increase their risk of certain conditions, from obesity to depression. So it's sort of just as harmful to get too many hours of sleep as it is to get too few hours of sleep. And that
Right.
sweet spot really is between 7 and 9 for
Right.
most people, 95% of the population.
95. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So thinking about one thing, what
Mhm.
one thing about your sleep or your eating habits could you change that might snowball
Start.
in a positive way?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. And there's so many to choose from. There's so many things in your sleep environment, your sleep hygiene, your routines, phone, iPad. I talk to people sometimes, they talk about how when they wake up in the middle of the night, they can't sleep. And so they'll get up and then they'll go read or get on their iPad. And then they'll be up for a couple of hours. Well, your brain remembers that.
Yeah.
And the next night, your brain says, hey, psst, wake up. That was fun. Let's go read. And right. And sometimes you're not waking up because you have insomnia. You're waking up because your brain has conditioned itself to
Hmm.
wake up so
Yeah.
that you can get a dopamine hit from the thing you're reading on your phone.
Mm. Wow.
Right. And so it's sometimes what we think is insomnia and an uncurable thing, there might be more to it. So
Mhm.
I mean, there's so many things we can just too much to discuss here,
Right.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, very good.
Mm.
Well, Rachel, that brings me to what's for dinner.
What's for dinner tonight?
Mhm.
So our small group, we do a small group with our church and a group of people, and it's moved to Thursdays. So you'll be happy to know that now when you ask me, I will no longer be saying leftovers. I will now have, because it's now we're making things to bring to small groups. So
Yeah.
it's Mexican night, and
Ooh,
we are bringing a lentil walnut sort of meat replacement, like
nice.
a lentil walnut
Yeah.
crumble kind of a thing. Yeah.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah,
that
and so
sounds
then there'll be, all the taco toppings and
Yeah.
tomatoes and lettuce and,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's dinner tonight. How about you?
Yeah. Well, I'm still working through our turkey. We had Thanksgiving here, and then everybody left.
Mhm.
I'm still working through this vegetable medley that my son prepared. It was absolutely delicious. It had that delicata squash, and then they were called blue potatoes,
Ah,
and then another squash and red onion. Anyway, it was roasted vegetable. I'm working on that, and
yum.
there's turkey soup that was made that was actually really
Mm,
good. I'm working on that.
nice.
So yeah, I'm,
Those are
I,
the leftovers you want to have around
yeah,
after Thanksgiving.
yeah, uh-huh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I'm working on the leftovers, but um, it was really been good. And my husband's on another fast, so
Wow. Okay. Well, I think I'm starting my next one next week, so,
okay, cool.
I'll keep you posted. Yeah.
What's on that?
Yeah.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
yeah. Well, thanks for the chatting, and
Yeah.
yeah, get some good sleep tonight.
Sounds good. I'm all for sleep.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Bye bye.